G'day guys and welcome to Talking Luft. I'm Mitch Stocker. We're back. Live from the Peloton is back. If you did not hear the episode last week, you got to go across and listen to that one. The Rat to Radelaide. That was a trip I did from Ballarat across to Adelaide for the Tour Down Under, Radelaide. What an amazing trip. I'm getting into my bike packing, and this one I did with the crew. We documented that. Go back and listen to that one. It's a long episode, but it's the first one, and it's a cracker. I've had some great feedback on the ground in Adelaide. I got to speak to so many people about the trip, and they got to listen to the pod. So it was great to hear their feedback, what they thought about that trip. Now we're here with Talking Luft, the first one of the year, and I've got something a little bit different for you this week. As you know, the podcast this year is being brought to you by our partner, Rapha, and I was this week just down in Adelaide recording live podcasts over at the Rapha pop-up. It's a new mini-series for Life of the Peloton called the Communique, the Race Communique. Tom Southam, the Director Sportif of EF EasyPote, and a good friend of mine join me each day as we recapped the stage live from the Rapha pop-up. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing it, interacting with the crowd, having a few cold beers, of course, and I had some special guests along the way, none other than the legend, the voice of cycling, Phil Liggett. He popped along one night. We had a good old friend of mine, Matt Goss, come along too, and at the end of the week, we had my old teammates, Yen Kukalair and Sam Bewley join as well. So there was a whole cast of people there. It's a really fun sort of recap. And I thought, well, why don't we kick off Talking Luft with this? I know it's not exactly Talking Luft, but it's still got that fun vibe to it. And I just want you guys to sort of feel what was going on there in Adelaide, because I had such a good time there. And these were really, really fun recording them. So if you saw the race and you want to know what happened inside the race, this is going to be a great recap for you. If you didn't know anything about Tour Down Under, you're going to get a full recap of the race, which happened just last week. There's not much else to say, guys. Sit back and enjoy the first installment of Talking Luft, the Race Communique. We've got the voice of cycling, the legendary voice of cycling, Phil Liggett. He's come down tonight to just do a little bit of quick little chat with us before we start talking about the communique, the stage, what happens. But you can't turn down talking to Phil Liggett. Well, I can't anyway, because I love talking to him. Phil, how have you done every single Tour de France since 1973? How's it even possible without any interruptions, 50 years in a row, calling the Tour de France? Can you believe it?
Well, because I'm bloody old now, I suppose that's the answer. But I remember going to the first one, which was in 1973. I was asked to go for the guy who was the TV commentator for ITV in the UK. And he said, hey, we're doing the tour on TV from site next year. I want you to be my driver. Are you interested? He said, I can't pay you. So I'm in. So that was in 73. 5 years later, sadly, David was killed in a car crash after Paris-Nice when I took the car back to him, and TV offered me the job. And the reason I took it, because they said it was for David. And so I became a TV commentator, and there was no interviews. And the amazing thing is, to this day, all those years ago, 1978 was my first TV coverage on the tour, 5 years in. I've never actually asked for a job in television. Everybody's just rang me, and I'm so happy they have.
Tell me about something maybe not everyone understands, but as a commentator, especially with the Tour de France, not all cycling fanatics are watching the Tour de France. It's a big group audience. You know, my mum watches it, my grandma watches it, and so on and so forth. So actually, you've got to actually paint the picture of the race. You've got to tell the story. You've got to engage them. It's something that I learned from you, listening to you after speaking with you, and I listened a bit more and understood what you were doing. Tell me a little bit about how that happens and in the commentary box and how you think about that.
It was something I always did. I mean, you know, I'm passionate about the sport and the people who take part in it, and you learn a lot about their private lives as well. But the first thing, when I asked Paul Sherwin to work with me, 86 I think it was, and Paul had no training as a journalist even, or certainly not as a commentator, but he had the same mentality as me. We lived 12 miles apart, but 12 years difference in our ages as well. And so I didn't actually race against Paul. And so I only met him really on the Tour de France as a cyclist. But same mentality. We come from the area around Liverpool. And we're always taking the piss out of each other, and we continue to do so for the next 33 years. And I said to Paul, I said, look, your target is to stop the old lady leaving the room until the commercial break. If you succeed in doing that, you've scored, because it means everybody else is watching us too. I said, we're going to go on the big heyday of the tour. We work for just about everybody who spoke English on TV. We had 150 million viewers. You're not telling me we've got anything like 150 million cyclists watching the show. So the object was, if the cyclists don't like us, which is the vast majority, they just turn off the sound. They'll still enjoy the Tour de France, but we didn't want them. We wanted the other people who knew nothing about bikes.
What about now? Because I feel like, well, I certainly felt it in my short stint in the Peloton of, just over 10 years. The Peloton really changed. The racing changed, the way it was in the Peloton, it was much more pressure. What about from your side as a commentator? And I've spoken with Rupert Guinness just recently. He was telling me some amazing stories about the journalism when he first went across in the 80s, just walking into the rooms of the riders, doing an interview and so on. What about you? That connection to the riders is very important to tell the story. When you're talking about, Mitch Stocker riding up, some mountain, you can say, I was in the lift with him, I heard this, he's, a bit sick or whatever. You get little bits of stories. I feel like now we're so separated. That transition of cycling, how much has it changed?
Big time. And exactly that, what you just said about being in the lift with him, that's exactly what I said on television today. I was in the lift with Corbin Strong, the youngster from New Zealand, last night after the time trial. He looked a bit wet and bedraggled, and I said, you did a good ride. He goes, yeah. What a big conversationalist. He's got talent. Because go back a week, I was talking with Darrell Impey, who's his team captain. And Darrell's won this race twice. I said, Darrell, are you going to go for a third win here because you're retiring at the end of the year? This is a private conversation. He says, no, I'm going to help him win. Corbin Strong, this kid, 23 years of age, I think he is. I said, well, and I've never heard of him, and he's never ridden here before. And he was confident. And he's been sprinting all day, swiping time bonuses. He's right up there in the overall. So Darrell was not bullshitting me. And I know Darrell off camera because we go to South Africa together. I thought he was trying to bluff me to think he wanted this young kid to win the Tour Down Under. But really, Darrell Impey was going for number 3. And I said on television, I think Darrell was telling me the truth. I think he wants this young kid to win. But this young kid's full of talent. But that's right. We only get that sort of connection on a race like the Tour Down Under now. Because now the Tour de France is so big. We have a little chat when we arrive at the beginning of the tour, see a few bike riders. When the tour starts, as soon as that first day finishes, within a minute I'm in a car and the guy's driving me 200 kilometres to the finish of tomorrow's stage. Just time for a late dinner, down to the start line for 9 o'clock, talk through the brief for the script of what we're putting into the show, do the commentary, guys cross the line, back to the car, and on we go. And that's like the whole tour. So we don't see the guys anymore. We have reporters who send us the interviews and all that, but we don't speak to them. And I remember, even in the old days, I remember Robbie McCune at the start of a time trial, which is always the penultimate day of the tour. Robbie, just in the time trial, got his bike, saw me, he said, hey, you're on the whole tour? I said, you cheeky sod, yes. He said, well, I haven't seen you since we started. I said, well, I haven't been near you since you started. And that's the way the world is unfolding, I think. It's a shame. But here, it's great here. I get all the stories here. I've been talking about Mitch on the tour this year, I can see it. Get all the stories here because I talk to the riders all the time.
This is going to be a really difficult one, but some of the greatest moments that you've called, personally for me, that centenary Tour de France, 2003, Jan versus Lance. There were some great moments in that, the plastic bag moment when Lance is dancing up the climb. I think it was stage 15, gets caught in the plastic bag and Jan waits for him. Lance going across the paddock, cyclocross style, and calling that. But also, let's go back like Laurent Fignon, Greg LeMond, 1989, finishing on the Champs-Élysées. There's thousands upon thousands. Do you have one that sticks in your mind? You loved calling it.
Well, the one you talked with Lance particularly, he was racing down into Gap with Bolocchi, and it was a very hot day. And Paul and I were separated at the time. Which is very unusual. Paul was working, I think, for the World Service, and I'd been cut out to the Americans only. And I was saying just how dangerous this descent was down to Gap because it was so hot. I said, the star's melting. I said, this could be really serious, but I wasn't envisaging what happened. And as you know, Sheba Bolocki came around the corner and crashed and broke his leg, with all sorts of problems. Lance immediately dives for the easy way out. The road goes on down the bottom, and like that. Lance just turned left and went across the field, saw the big ditch, got off his bike, jumped across, got back on, carried on with the leaders. Of course, I just said, well, Lance can get disqualified for that. He wasn't following the correct course. A little bit tongue-in-cheek. I'd like to see a commissaire with the ability to do that, but he certainly had the rules on his side. And the Lance says, he didn't win the stage, but he went on to win the Tour, and then the rest is history, of course. That's always stuck in my mind. And I liked Bolocki, but he finished his career. He tried to come back, and he couldn't do it. The Tour de France has got a million heroic stories. You just got to find them and make them work.
Everyone here knows Mick Molloy, and I've heard this story. You've got this ability. He's got the art of conversation. He's able to just talk to anyone, but he's also got the art of commentary, and it just be able to, your voice, you can commentate anything, and it's interesting. And there's this amazing, I think it was from maybe the Commonwealth game. Where was it from?
It was from the Whistler Winter Olympics, if this is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. And he was getting pretty annoyed, actually.
So you read the whole of my bloody life. I remember all these things. Though in Whistler I was doing downhill skiing. The producer said to me, we want you to commentate on whatever Mick does. Because, Mick's a bit of a comedian. He's a bloody nice guy too, but I didn't know him at that time very well. So Mick was in a coffee shop, a fast food restaurant in the centre of the square in Whistler, which is a fabulous ski town in the mountains. And he's eating with his fingers and very sloppily his hamburger and chips, putting tomato sauce down his face and stuff. And I walk up with the camera crew behind and start to commentate. Look at that left hand going for the speed to that chip. He's missed his mouth. No, it's in. It's in. It's all right. He's in. And now, goodness knows where he's throwing that tomato sauce. And Mick just ignores me being there. Gets the paper out. Oh, he's reading the paper now. He's put tomato sauce thumbprint all over the paper. The next reader, that's going to be very pleased with Mick. And he's moving, he's going to the toilet. Look at that. Look at the speed over the ground at Mick Molloy. When he's gone to that Portaloo, door closes, he shouts out something like, I'm fed up with you now. I say, he's a very polite man. He's really enjoying his part in the Winter Olympics. And this goes on for quite a long time, and it was shown on national TV, and it got quite a few good raps too. But the out words were, which they had to get the lawyers to clear, he gradually said, look at that now. He's going to his car. Door's open. He's getting in. Winds the window down and says, Phil, now you're giving me the shits. And my out words were, what a lovely chap. I remember it to this day, and he drove off into the sunset, and it was really, really popular.
I've got one last thing for you, and I don't know if you're willing to do this, but I got this idea. This is my dream scenario. Paris-Roubaix is my favourite race. And I thought, what if I rolled into Paris-Roubaix a kilometre to go with Tom Boonen and Luke Durbridge? And I would love, I don't know if you're able to do it, love you to call the last kilometre.
As far as that, well, that's only 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Do you want to do the last 2 kilometres? Maybe I go away.
Stretching it out. You'd be on Jaco, would you? Green Edge?
Let's just say I'm on EF. And
yes, that's where you finished, yeah.
Yeah, and Durbo's on Jaco, and Boonen, he's on Quickstep, I guess.
Okay.
Coming in last K. Phil, I'll let you take it away, last kilometre.
Well, I have to say, this has been yet another great Queen of the Classics. We've done 256. We're a little bit surprised, I've got to be honest, that Mitch Stocker has made this leading group. And over the cobblestones, Tam Brennan, of course, has always been the master, the Queen of the Classics. It's the Easter Classic. It's been a particularly muddy day today. In fact, it's so muddy, I'm not too sure I can recognise that guy. It's Mitch Stocker, right tucked in there. This reminds me of when Stuart O'Grady came from nowhere after his puncture and won the stage, but this can't happen again. That only happens once in your lifetime. Docker is moved right up behind now, Boonen, and they're heading down towards the Roubaix Velodrome. Remember that once they're down this final kilometre at the easy cobblestones, which are really only for decoration, we turn into the stadium. We'll pause for the cheers of the crowd, and Docker is perfectly posed. He's posed as well, Boonen. As we come out to the stadium, there's enormous level. It's now 11.5 minutes back. Nothing about much. As we get around that banking, it's the final run-up to the Duck and Boonen is absolutely curving here. This Australian sat on his back when he went to athlete. I bet he goes in the next 200 metres. Well, the bandman's got high on the track and my man has to come down the inside. Bringing out there's no which way to look. Talker's now. Talker just won Paris-Roubaix. Oh boy, that was £2,500, Mitch, no problem.
That is just as good as winning it. It felt real. I want to bring Tom Southam up because he is the sports director of EF. He's come down. He's got to get back to the hotel at some point. So let's get him up and let's talk about this stage. What I wanted to do tonight, this is sort of the first one of just reviewing the stage. We're going to review the stage every day. And what I thought would be really interesting is starting off with a weather report. That's something as a DS, you want to know the riders, what happened, what was the weather doing, what was the wind doing. So let's just start off first of all. What was happening? What did you tell the riders today? What was the weather doing?
I've been telling the riders since, I think, December that it's going to be a really cold down under, and it was. Low temperatures, 22, 24, and very windy, blustery. And we were out in the valley there with not much cover, so there was good chance of crosswinds, which, as you'll know yourself, puts a little bit of fear in your heart. So it's just enough to be uncomfortable today. Not a nice weather day.
Well, seeing as Sol was going to do a weather report, I thought I should do a pub review. I'm going to go to a different pub every day and watch the race. So today, I went downtown to the Metropolitan Hotel on Grote Street, just right opposite the market. And I thought, how am I going to score these pubs? I thought, we're in Adelaide. We've got to do the Coopers test. What's the lineup? Do they have all 8 Coopers on tap? And I can officially say yes. An amazing selection, all 8. The next thing was, do they have race vision? Is it on TV? They didn't have it on TV, but when I requested it, they put it on, so check. A true pub test in Adelaide is, do they have a butcher's size beer? Which is, what I found out today, is a small beer, originally named because of the butchers used to go across to the pub. They didn't have time to drink a whole pint back in the day, so they invented a glass their size, which is called now butchers, which they had. Do they have salt and vinegar chips? They did. And does it have a local legend? And what I mean by that is that one person that sits at the bar when you walk in and they're just there reading the paper, always there. And they did. So this got full marks. The Metropolitan Hotel has started good, great experience at the pub.
Who was the local legend?
I didn't speak to them. I should do that.
Yeah. I feel like we need some info on the local legends, mate.
Well, look, Phil, maybe you can help us, because I was going to do a little race recap of today, just in case anyone didn't see it. Maybe I'll talk about the stage in terms of the technical stuff, and you can tell us what happened in the race. Stage 1, 149.9 kilometres, 3 laps of 27 kilometres around Tanunda, 4 times over the Mengler's Hill at 4.5 kilometres at 3%. There was 1,700 metres of climbing today, 2 Category 4 climbs. They went over the Mengler's Hill the first lap and on the third lap. And there was 2 sprints today as well.
5 times up and only 2 counted for the King of the Mountains.
Exactly. And then
you were watching television and I thought it was 3. Come on.
You can take it from here, because I saw Luke Platt was the first guy to attack when the flag dropped.
Yep.
The breakaway had a solo rider with the AG2R Citroen rider, Nans Peters. Gap went out to about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had 2 abandons today. Paddy Bevan, who crashed again after the criterium, and also we saw...
Yeah, I couldn't attain. Did he crash during the day today?
No, he just abandoned.
That's injuries, wasn't it? It was badly written on the communique. I didn't see him crash, but I heard him retire. So I have to say, I like Pat Bevan. And he has such rotten luck. He crashed in the Tour Down Under. I think he broke his collarbone when he was race leader and couldn't finish the race. That's tough. Very tough.
We also saw Robert Gessing. He's a bit of a bunch favourite in the Peloton, a really nice guy.
Very much so.
An older guy. So, and you were telling me just before over here, he crashed on his hip. I forgot about this. He had a plate in his hip, didn't he?
Plate in his hip, yes. And so the doctor, Mark Fisher, is a fantastic guy. He's been helping me with the ribs. I went to the same hospital as Gessing, but I went about 4 days ago. Walked in. Everybody's told, all the surgeons saying, "Hi Phil, good to see you." I said, "What about my bloody ribs?" And we finally got some pictures taken after they'd taken the pictures of me and them. And then I said, "Well, what about the ribs?" And they said, "Oh, you've done a real good job. You've got 4 broken." And I said, "Oh, thanks very much." And that was it. That was a bit on the side. But Hessing, He's with his family as well, which is very sad because he loves South Australia. He's been here a little while. He's been doing his training while his family's been enjoying themselves. And I think it's very sad that he's come out on the first full road race day. Now does whatever he does, but he has a steel plate in a previous hip injury, and they just want to make sure he hasn't moved when he fell. But he actually fell first on his hip and then a nasty swing on his head on the road. So very unfortunate. The crash wasn't his fault. You could see that on television.
Yeah, no one wants to crash in the first race of the year or first day of the year, do they?
There was a lot of crashes.
25 guys, different guys, fell down today.
Mainly EF, the Australian team, and Israel chased a little bit as well. Tommy sent the boys straight on the front, didn't you?
Absolutely. I mean, race leader, what are you going to do? Make a statement? Start the year as you mean to go on, Mitch?
56k to go. Peters was brought back into the peloton.
Just brushed over that. Let's move on.
Highly contested intermediates today, and Michael Matthews, Jaco Alula, Corbin Strong, and also Ethan Hayter. Those guys were really fighting it out, like proper bunch sprints almost. And also Alberto, he was floating around as well. Unfortunately, couldn't get any seconds. I was quite impressed about those intermediate sprints today. They were fast. And once they went over the climb the final time, you could see from the laps before that descent, and Tom can tell us a bit more about this, but it looked like it was really crosswindy and it was fast, straight to the finish. Even though the bunch was side to side, I was telling a guy I was at the hotel with, they were doing 450, 500 watts on the front. You wouldn't think that, but guys were just peeling. It was fast into the finish, wasn't it?
I mean, it was extremely difficult on the downhill. It doesn't ever really come across when the bunch is all the way across the road on TV, but it's exactly like Durbo said, that the hardest time in cycling now isn't when it's in a line. It's when everybody's bunched up. It's because everybody's fighting. And we saw that the first time, and I knew the guys would be riding, so I said the first time we do it before anybody's seen it, squeeze as hard as you can just to hurt everybody in the back, because we might as well do it while we can. And then from then on, you could see that everybody was ready, and when you have a circuit and you repeat and you keep seeing the same thing, everybody knows what's going to happen, which stops anything happening, and it stops it looking exciting, but it's actually the hardest part of racing now.
But they went down to that corner, the left hand, to approach the finishing straight. We had them clocked at just on 90 kilometres an hour. I'm glad the brace worked. But and then, of course, soon after they straightened up, we had the crash near the finish as well. But we should congratulate Tom for being the director sportive or the leader for the last 2 days. And we're pretty happy, Tom. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, comes every day.
No, it's fantastic, and you have to. It's not the rider we expected to be in the lead.
Not at all.
So I mean, Alberto's been here for 10 days, and he's been going to the beach every day, and he's been going to restaurants, and he had a beer here the other day. Had a beer here the other day, and he's.
What are you saying? He's Italian. That's all you're saying.
You know,
just Italian.
And he's like, no, Tom, don't worry, it's gonna be fine, everything's okay, it's January. And then it's like, okay, yeah, now you've got the race leader's jersey, you need to start being serious. So step by step, we're gonna get there.
Of course, I'll mention all this tomorrow on TV. Very kind of you, Tom.
Another beers, Phil, another beers, please.
To finish it off, the stage was an amazing lead out, I thought, by Jaco. They did a really good job. And Campbell Stewart, he really did a good lead out for Michael Matthews. I think Michael waited a little bit too long before he started sprinting. And ultimately, we saw Phil Bauhaus take out the victory. Caleb Ewan was second, Michael Matthews third. A pretty tough sprint. I think a really nice opening stage. What did you guys think?
I thought it was a very dangerous sprint. They're bumping up barging by there. What do you make, Caleb Ewan? Clearly the fastest man in the field. He gives them all a 20-length start, and he loses by a centimetre. Wouldn't you think it'd be more common sense to finish nearer the line?
I mean, I do often say this in meetings, Phil. It's like, let's try and cross the line first at the end. Crossing the line first is a good tactic.
The challenge, isn't it? Yeah. If that's where Caleb falls flat, yeah, he's second.
Maybe we could have a word and he could address that. But I think Caleb is without his own. He's without the team that he normally works with.
He is,
and it's very, very difficult to, even with the team that you work with all year round, to nail these finishes, because everybody wants to do the same thing that you're doing, and everybody wants to be in the same place. And everybody has roughly the same plan. So to come here with like a young Australian team and try and be helping them learn.
To work for him today very well, I thought.
I mean, they did a great job and they committed, but he's trying to win while he's trying to help people to do something to learn something which is extremely difficult. So losing by a centimetre, you could cut him some slack, I reckon, Phil.
Leave him slide. No, certainly not, no. I think when he sees it, he's going to say, oh, because I've seen him lose Tour de France stages the same way. But he's so fast, and he can make up 20 lengths in 20 yards.
In 50 metres, he only started sprinting with 50 metres to go, and that's when he made up all that speed.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense. Maybe he was born in Ireland, I don't know.
What about your day, Tom? Run us through your day. Leader's jersey, obviously a good position in the car. How was your day?
It's pretty cool to be car number one because firstly you can actually see the race. Most of the time if you're car 15, you've got no idea what's going on. But today, for example, you're right there, and the boys really committed today, and they wanted to get up and make a statement and ride the front. And it's hard to ride the front, but guys really want to do it, especially guys like Lucas and Tom Scully, who that's their bread and butter. That's what they can do as riders. So finally, they're like, thank God we can show ourselves. And
your man Wozniacki, he rode superbly today.
He's also been on the beach a lot.
Well, that's right. So the moral is, before you start the tour down under, have a few days on the beach.
It pays off.
All right, I've got a question for both of you. The ride of the day. I'll go first because I want to get mine in. I think the ride of the day for me has to be Michael Matthews today because the way that he took those intermediates on, and like I said before, they were full bunch sprints, and then still be able to be up there at the end. You can't underestimate how much that takes out of you. That's what Tour Down Under is now. I thought the ride of the day was him, even though he didn't win the stage. I think he did a good job today.
I can't argue with that. I love Michael too, and he's a fabulous bike rider, and he wants to win this race for his new sponsors because Jaco Alula, if he keeps winning, it could be worth a fortune. That's not why he's doing it. The man of the day was obviously Nance Peters. He's an aggressive young cyclist, but he's not that young anymore. Let's be honest, it was a bloody boring race today. One rider in front all race, his team blocking off at the back, and then we all fall off halfway through, and then the race is done. So there'll be better days on the Santos Tour Down Under. However, he got the result he wanted. But if it's a ride of the day, it's Peters because he stuck his head out and he rode superbly. I like the way the team worked. Nothing against the team, as you know, Tom. I know Jonathan Waters, if I'm against you, ring me up. But I do like the way the team raced him. Actually, you're obviously talking to Jonathan. Are you? You must be pretty stoked.
Are you?
Not right now. I have spoken to him in the past, yeah.
All right.
No,
Not ringing you up and saying, what the hell's Belty all doing, winning?
I actually asked people not to ring me up when the race is.
Look at it, very good. Well, I haven't got your number, so you said.
No, I mean the team's elated. The team's super happy. I mean, for me,
It should be.
the rider of the day would my rider was Lucas Wisniewski, who rode
Yeah.
let's say 130 of the 150 Ks on the front, controlled the brake, slowed it down when we need to slow it down, sped it up when we need to speed it up.
How do you find this guy? Where do you find him?
Where does he come from?
Poland. He lives in Poland.
Yeah. Poland, Miami, Monaco.
Anywhere there's a beach.
Yeah.
All right, the next question is, I've renamed it Nuff Move of the Day. So the person who did the Nuffy move could be someone, could be a situation, and mine was, it's a silly one, but it was the crashes. It was just so hectic. That was like the Nuff move of the day. Like, everyone seemed nervous. No one knew what was going on. The first race of the year, already crashing.
My Nuff move of the day was UAE and Visma, because if they didn't want Michael Matthews to take a lot of time for the GC, they should have put someone down the road. Michael Vink went down the road and sat up early on. We fully expected there to be a 3 or 4 or 5 man group. So anybody who has a climber in the race who wants to not let Michael Matthews have a huge lead should have sent someone down the road today, and they just didn't do it. And I was like, well, I can't pull on the front and put someone in the breakaway. It's like, so I feel like teams really just rolled over a little bit on that today, which didn't make sense to me.
Phil, do you understand the question?
No. But it's very...
It's pretty much the idiot move of the day.
Yeah,
I was trying to find another word.
Yeah, I understood that bit.
No.
No, the question is, the answer is easy if we're talking about my commentary team. Because the Nuff move of the day was when Robin McEwen suddenly steps up alongside me, goes out the commentary box, he's gone for a pee, just when we're doing a crucial part of the race. So that was the Nuff move.
Yeah, nice. I like it. That's a real Nuff move.
He left me with animeers and we were able to carry him through. But we have a great commentary team, actually. We're having some fun.
All right, guys, this is the official communique. Last night we had a real treat with Phil Liggett, and tonight we're going to actually get to talk to Tom one-on-one, which I think is great as well, because he was in the car today with, if you don't know him already, this is Tom Southam. He is Director Sportif of EF Easy Post, my old team.
Yep, your old boss, Mitch.
You missing me?
Big time. Big time.
On the climbs?
Just afterwards for the beer. But we can still recreate that now.
You had a really good idea last night. How about you give us a bit of a DS briefing, what you gave the riders before the stage, and everyone can understand what the riders get into and a little bit about the stage. Take it away, mate.
Yeah, so I mean, every day I start off with basically, you know, we have a map up, we have a picture, and run through one of the fundamental things, which is always going to be the weather. Today it was really, really, really important, the wind. It was mostly a headwind, so we had like that huge expressway went all the way down there with a block headwind. But then at kilometre 50, we knew that we would have a side wind across the tops there of Sellex Hill, which was probably the key point of the race. So that was super important. And then also the run-in to the next climb was where it was open. So we look for the parts of the race that are open, the way that the wind's going to affect it. The wind is, like, I've never seen a Tour Down Under with this much wind where it's actually come into play like this. Also such low temperatures. It's really a different Tour Down Under. And trying to kind of go through all those things with the riders before the start, the stage, how it was going to be. We thought it would come down to a 30 rider or 20 rider sprint with the crosswinds and then the climb. But like always, it doesn't quite work out.
Well, let's get to the more important stuff. The pub review. Last night we were down the Metro, and I gave that a solid 10 out of 10. Because if you weren't here last night, I'll run you through the actual protocol. Today, we got down to the Golden Wattle, which is on Peria Street, right in the centre of town, right in the city. I couldn't believe it was a pub until I got there. Cooper's score, how many out of the 8 did it have? It had 6. Unfortunately, it fell too short. No vintage, no stout, but still pretty solid. Race vision, check. True pub test, did it have any butchers? It did. Salt and vinegar chips? They didn't, but the owner assured me he was just out of stock, but they had cheesels. So they get sort of a half point for that. And did it have a local legend? At the time, no, but he rolled in late, in a suit, drinking VBs in his corner. That is his spot, and he was there. So after all that, I had it at a 6, and it gained a few points later in the day, and I pulled it up to an 8. Solid pub, get in there, great afternoon watching the race. Should we do the race recap?
Let's do it. Let's get it over with. Come on.
Let's do it. All right, stage 2, if you didn't see it or you don't know what happened because you're out riding or whatever, was Brighton to Victor Harbour, 155k, the longest stage of this year's Tour Down Under. We passed through Victor Harbour with 40k to go and did another lap. 2,000 metres of climbing. There was a Category 2 climb at Pewara Hill, a 3k climb at 7%, and there was a Category 1 climb, Nettle Hill, 2k at 8%. That was about 10k to go, 12k to go. 20k to go.
That's why I'm a DS, Mitch.
There were 2 sprint preems, is that correct?
That's correct.
Good. The breakaway went away. 2 riders, Manuel Barraro from Astana, a good friend of mine.
That's a guy you had a fight and lift with.
Exactly. A guy I had fisticuffs with a couple of years ago. Johan Jacobs from Movistar. Those 2 guys went away, and our team EF jumped on the front with Bahrain. They started rolling, but at 100k to go, there was a split in the crosswind, and 50 riders made the front. UAE put in the crosswind. It was quite a windy day. Caleb missed the front, a guy that I picked for today's stage. 88k to go. Those 2 riders were back in the peloton, so there was no breakaway, like really early. As the 2 punchers came back together, Astana went on the attack again with Dmitry Gusev. He went away solo, but there was a lot of pressure for those intermediates, so at 60k to go, Dmitry was back in the bunch, and there was actually no pressure in the bunch. It was really side to side. Let's just fast forward 22k to go. Michael Matthews drops his chain. No one waits for him. The race just goes. Jay Vine attacks. Yates goes with him. Rowan Dennis, Jai Hindley go across. And Mauro Schmidt, he goes over the top of Nettle Hill. They get a 15-second gap. And at the time, I was sitting with Matt in the pub. I said, mate, that's going to the line. He said, no way, mate. I said, yeah, mate, it is. And it did. They all went all the way to the line. And we saw Rowan Dennis do a surprise attack over the top of Jai Hindley, my favourite. I wanted him to win, and he got the stage. So that was more or less what happened today.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting stage. The headwind played a huge part in the way that it went today. It was really strong wind. I mean, nobody attacked for the first. I think we did 24 kilometres in the first hour down the expressway. So it was going really, really slowly. And all of a sudden had this really key moment where we went over the climb, and it was, like we said, it was going to be open. I mean, these days everybody has the same information. But it was an interesting crosswind because the guys who are normally good at crosswinds aren't good at climbs. And the crosswind started at the top of the climb. So that's why UAE could start it. Some good riders missed that because Visma rode really hard in the group behind. I think Rowan might have even missed it. I'm not 100% certain. In the car, we don't have that much information. But then, you know, coming into the final, the climb was quite a narrow road, and where Michael had his problem was just the worst possible place to have an issue. He was stopped. I mean, I was car 1 and they were car 2, but we didn't get to him for like 30, 40 seconds, and then there's riders everywhere, and he had to come back. Durbo came back for him. But they did the right thing. Yates went straight on the attack because it's like, okay, this is not going to work with Michael now. We have to do it with Yates. So that was a good move. I don't think they took as much time as they would have liked at the end because the bunch started coming back to them pretty rapidly. But yeah, I think it was a good stage, and it was one we thought we'd broken by the winds and then be a sprint, but it was actually won by a break on the climb. So, like, good racing.
I really enjoyed being down the start today and interviewing the riders and just feeling the rush, wheels in motion. I've only been on the other side of the fence at the biggest race of the year, the Tour, not to boast, but coming here is way better because Caleb today, he didn't want to get an interview from me, but ultimately I was at the side of his window and I just opened the window, Caleb, and he's like trying to look face and he looked, oh, damn it. But how was your day, mate? Run me through your day. It was quite a stressful day for the team. You were riding on the front, but then later on, you know, you had some problems. How'd the day go for you?
I mean, it went from really good to really kind of shit, if I'm honest. Things were going fine. It's a different kind of stress to have the leader's jersey in a race. You have to really think about things a lot more because it's on you to dictate what happens. The riders were responding really well to that, and it was going good. We were hoping to lose the jersey to Matthews today by maybe a second or two to put Jayco in the position tomorrow to be under attack. As it happens, Alberto made the first split, went over the climb, and then on like a 2-kilometer tiny little ramp, he basically cramped and got a little bit upset, expressed himself as Italians do, and then...
I saw some chippo come out at him. I haven't seen a bottle throw for years.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it until... I still haven't seen it. Because we don't have the TV in the car at these races. But it's been mentioned to me once or twice since the finish. So
let's move on to ride of the day.
I'm going to go with Mauro Schmidt because if you look at everybody else in the break, home sort of ground advantage, where's he come from? Like basically from nowhere. Just to pop up and be up there with the best, put himself up to 4th on GC. I don't think anybody would have seen that coming. And when the move went, it was only like top quality riders. I mean, you've got Yates, Hindley, Dennis, and then he pops up there. So I think he was a bit busy in the Schwalbe crit. Now I think about it, so he could be a factor later in the race as well. So I mean, he didn't win, but I'll give it to him.
Yeah, I don't think Ride of the Day always has to win. That's a really good call. Unfortunately, to go against that, I'm going to pick Dirty Dennis, Rowan Dennis, because I think he rode his pace over the climb. He didn't try and follow that attack, whether he could or not. He rode back on, and his attack to win the stage was very well thought out. He waited for Jai to go, and then he hit over the top. It was a really great ride, I think. Home ground advantage. That's my Ride of the Day. Let's move on to Nuff Move of the Day. I'll go first. My good friend Bettiol gets it. Cramping first and then cracking the shits and throwing his bottle. Who was he throwing that bottle at?
Apparently the cameraman. Apparently.
Right. Fair enough. Very Chippo-esque. It's the same thing. No, that was the commissaire, wasn't it?
Yeah. You can't throw it at the commissaire. We'd be out of the race.
Yours?
Probably the guy who gave Bettiol a beer 2 days ago that made him cramp today.
Who was that?
The guy in the hat.
This is Communique. We're here again after a massive stage today. Of course, I'm joined with Tom Southam, the Director Sportif of EF Easy Post. Southam, welcome.
Yep, thank you very much. Just waiting for my beer here. Here it comes.
I was going to say, it's a bit of a dry argument.
There we go. Yeah, it's been a tough day. Right, there we go. So, you want me to kick off with the DS briefing for today, Mitch?
Let's kick it off. What are you going to tell us, mate?
Very short stage, 116k. Not so much wind today, but the corkscrew climb at the end. As I said to you yesterday, I think the breakaway could make it if people get involved, but it didn't quite happen.
That was your theory. I think more importantly, let's do the pub review.
Yeah, it's crack. I've just been to the pub just to check out your Cooper's theory, and I counted 10.
There is, but I didn't want to tell you that because it got quite confusing. Because the extra 2, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, what they do is they brew a house beer for each pub.
Ah, right.
So the Metro has a Metro brewed beer by Cooper's, and they also brew a Cooper's Dry, I think it is, but the label looks pretty crap, so I just excluded those 2.
Piss Week label. They were Piss Week.
Yeah. Back to the pub review. Today, I got up to the Colonialist out in Norwood. We went out of town on a bit of a journey because I was on my way to the finish. I stopped halfway. This is a really iconic pub, and the owners of this have started, if you're anyone here from Adelaide, you'd know the Booze Brothers. They've got the bottle shops around, and these guys started this pub. An awesome pub, actually. Really cool interior. But Cooper's score, 2 out of 10.
No
Struggling.
No good.
They've only got the pale and the mid-ale. The mild ale, sorry. Race Vision, only after request. We got it.
No good.
Butchers, no butchers.
Unbelievable. No butchers.
Salt and vinegar chips, only Red Rock. Local legend, Bumpal.
Ah, mate, this is just a failure all around, isn't it?
Yeah, look, but the interior went up a couple points because it was just such a cool pub, but obviously it lost so many points, so I had to rank it at a 5.
Tough day. Must have been a hard day for you, mate.
It was. It was. Because the pub was out of town, I didn't drink as many beers as normal, so it was good. Let's get onto the stage today. Norwood to Campbelltown, 116k, arguably the Queen stage. I don't know if you agree with that, Tom, of this year's TDU.
I actually think the last stage is going to be the Queen stage. I think today was a bit of a amuse-bouche.
Tough start with there was 3 cat climbs today. It was a tough start with Norton Summit straight out of the blocks. A Category 2 climb, 9k at 4%. Later in the day, they faced Checkers Hill, which I actually forgot was only 1k. 1k at 9%.
No, 1k is 9%, but the k before that is 6%. So.
Then the final climb, of course, Corkscrew, 2k at 9%. The top was 6k to go. The race kicked off with our man, Mikel Henry. He was first to attack, and the Astana rider joined him, Fabio Fellini. It was an easy start for the bunch. I wanted things to kick off on Norton Summit. I wanted it to be a hard start. These are the days that I fear so much, and it didn't. The bunch cruised up there. I beat them this morning with my Strava. The bunch did 14 minutes.
You are kidding me.
I did 13 and a half minutes.
You are kidding me.
No.
You're 30 seconds faster than the
Get me back in the World Tour.
I'm going to tell the boys that tomorrow in the briefing. Seriously.
I'll send you the file. Jumbo started chasing, and they were joined later by Albertson de Koenig, which for me was quite strange. We'll get into that later on. The sprints were pretty uncontested. Groves picking up 3rd, and obviously the 2 breakaways got the others, points, Fellini and Orne. 50k to go. They had a 2-minute gap. At the top of the gorge, Corbin Strong crashes where Froome waits for him. Bahrain Victorious took control of the peloton. And as we hit the bottom of the corkscrew, AG2R were the first to take out the front and drive the pace of the peloton, setting it up for Ben O'Connor. It looked hard, but there was a lot of guys still there. Ultimately, 1k from the top, Rowan Dennis starts to lose contact with the bunch as UAE George Bennett was completely driving the peloton for Jay Vine that is. And 600 metres to go from the top. If it wasn't fast enough already, Jay Vine takes off. Close in his heels was Simon Yates. And then, amazingly, Bilbao just rides across this gap. I could not believe it. At the top, there was the 3 of them. They descended like a madman. I've just heard from Alan Davis that Bilbao is an absolute mad descender. So he told me Yatesy was struggling to stay on his wheel on that descent. I also heard that Yatesy was struggling to stay on Jay's wheel on the climb, despite what his face says. Ultimately, they came in, they went over the KOM, Vine, Yates, Bilbao. They went down, and the sprint was pretty uneventful. Bilbao hit out, Yatesy following him, and Jay Vine just riding for the time. The results were that, respectively. And Matthews cleans up the bunch sprint at 28 seconds.
It's quite a big gap for this race at this point of the race. I think I mean, it was a real showdown. Jay Vine showed yesterday and today how good he is. But Bilbao is actually the rider in this race who's the highest ranked UCI points rider in the race. He's a super rider. And I noticed when they came here, Bahrain, Steve-O had them out every day doing serious training, big camp, taking things serious. And he got the results today. But he's also super fast. He won 2 stages of Basque Country last year against Alaphilippe in bunch sprints, so good win.
Let's run through your day. Tell me what happened. How was your day in the car? But also, we spoke about that breakaway. You obviously put Mikael up there, but it didn't really play out as you'd hoped.
I'd pick this stage from a long way out as one where the break could actually make it because of the length of the stage, and it doesn't take much to get the timing wrong and mistake it. I was hoping for a group of 6 to 8, and Mikael went first, and I said, as he went over Norton Summit, I'm like, just wait. More guys will come, and they didn't. No one was interested. It was 23 degrees. I always thought the Tour Down Under was a bit muted because of the high temperatures, but nobody wanted to race, and there's teams here who just weren't interested. And with 2 riders, it was going to be difficult. But Visma were happy for it to go. Mikael and Fellini were riding at sort of 60, 70 k's an hour with that tailwind on the way out to the sprint. So they were rolling along nicely. Then Alpecin hopped on the front for... I don't think that they had read that there was a climb in the final of the stage. I think they made a mistake and read yesterday's stage profile for today. And that was that, unfortunately. So a quiet day in the car, but a successful day. We were out there, we were aggressive, we're close in the mountains, so giving it a go.
Well, let's move on to ride of the day. Tom, who was your ride of the day today?
I'm going to go with Bilbao. I know it's easy to pick the winner.
He won the stage, yeah, it was a great ride.
But to come here as a non-Australian and be competitive, it means you've taken things seriously back in the Basque Country in December, and you've gone out and you've done your homework and you've come here with serious intent to show that this race is as important as everything else in the World Tour. And I really like that. I like him as a rider. He's a little bit little for me to really like him as a rider, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that.
You mean in physical size?
Yeah, absolutely. Christophe Laporte's my top because he's so tall.
All right. You like the big boys.
Tall riders. That's why you're out, mate.
My ride of the day was Jay Vine. Seriously impressive, I thought. Just the pace. I can still feel the pace. I haven't got to director's point where you forget how fast it was. I can still see how fast they were going up there, and to see him step off that again when a guy like George Bennett is lining it out and he goes again and riding for the GC. He's confident he wants to win this. Well, let's move on. Nuff move of the day. I didn't know what Alpecin were doing today.
Neither did I.
They were riding for the intermediate for Caden to get points. I don't know. It just seemed weird that they were riding, and for me, I still don't understand it yet. Or were they riding to get over the climb? I don't know exactly.
So I spoke to my riders. I mean, obviously we were affected by it because they were the ones who closed the gap to Mikael, and everybody in the peloton was asking what they were doing because, I mean, you only have to look at the race book to know that it's going to be hard for Caden Groves to stay there. Then,
what's your nuff move of the day?
I mean, basically every team that didn't go in the breakaway that could have gone in the break, and the stage could have stuck today. Nobody pushed Visma early on. Nobody made it hard. I mean, UAE have got their thing and they did what they did, but I mean, yeah, IKEA, Samsungs, they could have been in the break. Yeah, there's plenty of teams that could have tried, and if you had 6 riders today, 8 riders, it could have made it to the line. And I feel like with low temperatures, people have got a real chance to make this a different race. And if you just sit there and you don't take it, you're just going to go home with nothing. I mean, we've won a stage, we've had the jersey and blah, blah, blah. But other teams are the clock's ticking.
Did we get to the bottom of what happened with Bettiol yesterday and the bottle and all that sort of stuff? Do you know the full story now?
I mean, he cramped, he got upset. And
who was the bottle thrown at? A cameraman or just someone?
It was a cameraman, and unfortunately he's received an enormous fine from a UCI.
Did he?
So, that's not worked out very well.
That comes straight out of the prize money.
Yeah.
G'day everyone, welcome back. This is Communique, and we've got a special guest tonight, apart from DS Tom Southam. You know him from the other nights. Special guest we've got here tonight is Matt Goss. If you don't know him, he's from Launceston, Tasmania, turned pro in 2007 with Saxo Bank at age 21. Back in those days, that was young. It seems old now, doesn't it?
Mate, you look at these guys now. I was talking to a manager yesterday, and they're signing guys from under 17s like on contracts. So I'm like, you're joking. Right.
And he was known as a sprinter. He was pro for 10 years, and he most famously won Milan-San Remo, the Sprinters Classic, apparently, in 2011. Second at the World Championships in Copenhagen behind Mark Cavendish. Should have won that one, the one that got away.
Yeah, I went to functions for about 12 months after that, and every time they brought this up, and I think it's the smallest losing margin at a World Championships ever. So I was in front of Cav about 2 meters after the line. So yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks again, Mitch. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back.
Among other things, world champion on the track. He's ridden all the Grand Tours, 9 in total, and he's won a couple of Giro stages as well. We can go through all the results later, but I just want to give you a bit of an introduction to the star that we've got here, the legend. But Tom, give us a bit of a DS briefing for today, mate.
Today was a day where the main talking point this morning was the wind. Huge wind today, up 25 to 40 k's an hour. Exposed roads all day. A really good chance that it was going to split. Tour Down Under doesn't really normally split up in the wind. When it does, it sort of comes back together because no one's really that keen on being in the gutter in January. But this year today it was on. So all about the wind this morning.
Should we get to the more important stuff? Pub review. Cumberland Arms Hotel, right down there on Weymouth Street. These guys, great looking pub on the outside. I thought, oh, well, here we go. This is going to be perfect. Let's run through how they did. Cooper's score, 1 out of 10. 1 out of 8, sorry. 1 Coopers. Race vision after request. No butchers. No salt and vinegar chips. No local legend.
Was it a pub?
Had no soul, this place. I was there with Alan Aquani, and he goes, mate, this place is lacking soul. I said, you hit the nail on the head, no soul. 1 out of 10. It's a real disappointing afternoon watching the race.
Mate, you're gonna need a solid 10 tomorrow to bring things round.
Was there not another pub close by that you could have just walked down to and checked out? Or
I could have, but I was committed. It was only 30k to go. I didn't have time to wait.
If it's a 1 out of 8, you've got to think about your options.
I wanted to go to the Ale House here, but I thought that's just a bit too easy. They're going to easily get 8 out of 8 with the Coopers. Should we run through the race quickly? Stage 4, as Tom said, a flat day. Port Wollonga to Wollonga Township, 133k. It was a really aggressive start. Even some small splits in the peloton. But finally, 2 riders went free. Darren Limpy and Jonas Ruch went away in the bake rate. Darryl from Israel, Jonas from EF. Team Australia, UAE and Alpecin started chasing. And Jayco decided to go on the attack and split the bunch after 76k, second time through the Wollonga town, and it was on from there. There was a big crash. Taj Jones from Israel and Leonard Basso from Astana, those guys went down in the crosswinds pretty hard. But ultimately a front group formed where Jayco had 6 riders with Matthews, Ineos had 6 riders with Sheffield, UAE had 5 with Vine, EF had 6, AG2R had 5 with Connor, and other names were there, Bilbao, Schmidt, Ewan, Strong, Cockard, Hindley was there too. The people who missed out today, Bauhaus, Groves, Alpecin and Astana as well. Honore, he took the KOM points. You were telling me about it yesterday. You got the jersey.
Yeah, so he's leading that now. I mean, I still think he has to win it tomorrow, but he's got a slim lead. I don't think Jay Vine's interested in the jersey as much as he is in winning the race, so that's in our favour. He's off GC, so I think it's an achievable goal for him tomorrow.
The second sprint was on. The first sprint was just absorbed by the breakaway and Matthews took out the third point. The second sprint was on. Michael Hepburn took Yates, really nice lead out, but he was muscled out by Camille Gradek. Don't really know him. And 5k to go. Durbo did his last pull. UAE took over. The gap was about 40 seconds between the group. Caleb Ewan was at the front with 2k to go, but he got swamped completely out of position. And it was a really chaotic sprint because of that headwind. And at 200 metres to go, Cockard absolutely creams him in the sprint and goes early and just keeps pulling away. That's the summary of today if you didn't see it. Gossy, you were right there. And you were just talking to me before about Cockard, how impressed you were.
Yeah, it is impressive, isn't it? And what you say about Caleb and Matthews is 100% right. This is for a sprinter, this is one of the worst case scenarios for a sprint. It's slightly uphill. It's into a headwind. So if you're on the front, everyone's sitting easy behind. Bling was in not a bad position. He had an all right sprint. I don't think he quite had the legs today. But when you look at what Coquart did, like you can't take anything away from that. That was phenomenal. Like he hit out early, and I was saying to Tom earlier, we timed his sprint. It's an 18-second sprint. So if you actually do that by yourself, go out the road and have a crack, see how that feels after a stage that was so stressful, so hard, and so intense, mentally and physically, he's a deserving winner of that stage today.
Give everyone a bit of perspective. You doing a lot of sprints over your career. How much would you normally sprint when you come off a lead-out guy? Ideal scenario.
10 to 12 seconds. So when you think that's 50% more at your maximum, that's huge. That's massive. And like you're uphill into a headwind, and he made the call. He had the opportunity. He committed. He went, and he come away with the flowers.
Why have we not seen more of him over the last few years? He's so talented, and the French always are going on about him. He went to Pinot's team, and then he's sort of come back again now. I don't know. I don't feel like we've seen the best of him over the last, whatever. How long did you say? 10 years he's been pro?
Yeah, 10 years he's been pro.
I think his problem is that his peak generally runs until February, which is poor timing, really. And the rest of the season's a little bit of a letdown. So last year he started super fast. Every year he starts really, really fast, and then he peters off.
I remember in the tours in 2011, 12, 13, like he was the next up-and-coming thing. Like he was the French guy that, the French love to pin hopes on somebody, and he was one of them. And he was always around the mark. But like you said, he just hasn't had those big wins. And like this is, to be professional for 10 years as a sprinter and still be there after 10 years and not won World Tour races and big races, if you're a sprinter and you're not performing, see you later.
There's so much credit to him to keep...
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's massive. I think he's, like I said, he's absolutely deserving.
Well, Tom, tell us a little about your day in the car, how it was. Stressful crosswind day. Like, run us through what happens, because Wollonga, I think Wollonga's found a new home. A crosswind day. How good's this? No hill, crosswinds. Bring me back to Tour Down Under.
I mean, you've done this stage before when we've done the U-Bolt at the base where we finished, so that there was a slight change. But every year when we do that downhill, whether or not there's wind, the bunch splits and normally comes back together. And like I said to the guys this morning, 100% after that, when you turn around, you go down with a side wind, it's going to break. We knew exactly where it was going to be. It was actually a really nice day in the car for me because everybody made it. Came over the radio and said, like, where are we? And in the middle of this crosswind and all this stuff, Jens came over as cool as a cucumber. It's like, yeah, we're all okay. And I was like, oh, okay, nothing to worry about.
Did Scud have his headphones on during that meeting?
Scud's radio didn't work. No, to be fair to Scud, he did a bit of a lead out for Mikkel to get the points for the KOM. And the KOM was just before you turned onto the downhill. Otherwise, he would have been there for sure. He's not enough of the day, is he? Come on, keep the breath.
Oh, should we move to that? Well, let's talk about ride of the day then. Let's start with Gossy.
Like I said, I feel for it. Well, not feel for a guy. Like it's impressive to see a guy who has been a sprinter and after 10 years gets his first World Tour win. And the fashion he did it, he committed, he went, he was gone early. And, it's hard in sprinting sometimes to go early because you know that you probably haven't got the legs in you and you're just waiting for people to come over you. So to make that decision and then finish it off like he did, he won by 5 or 10 metres. That for me was the ride of the day. Like, it has to be.
I feel like he was still pulling away at the end. He wasn't slowing down. They weren't coming at him. He was just, as Albie said, he creamed him. I love it. Tom?
I'd probably go with giving it to Jayco as a team because they're the ones who made the action. To split the race, the Tour Down Under doesn't split, like we said, in crosswinds, and normally people kind of like, it's all like, oh, let's just be there to make sure nothing happens, instead of actually having the balls to go, let's rip this race up, see what happens, let's tear it up, we're going to blow the race apart, isolate people, see what we can do, let's make it a proper hard day instead of just rolling around. So I thought it was really cool. I hope it was good to spectate, but it is nice to see that. And I'm sure there's plenty of guys who came here in January and didn't really want to be in the gutter, but good on them.
Tom?
Yeah, it's a great point. I was just remembering, after the finish, our riders were quite happy, and Lucas Wisniewski said that he thinks that every stage of the Tour de France 1 year should be a flat crosswind stage. See how that goes. That would be a cool one, no?
Oh, I love that idea. But why only one?
I mean, no, the whole 21 stages, all crosswind.
One tour every...
3 weeks, no climbs, crosswinds every day, 3 weeks.
So, Qatar. Tour of Qatar.
We'll just have to call Mother Nature, see how she's feeling.
Well, my ride of the day was Jens Kukelair taking Alberto Bettiol up for second place. I don't know if you get a chance to watch this tonight or if you haven't noticed it. Look what he does and look where they go. They weasel through the bunch and they go through some incredible holes. In the end, one was very close. The Trek rider, I don't know who it was, but he unclipped as Bettiol came past and touched him. But it's quite an amazing run they took. So have a look at that later if you haven't seen that. Should we move on to Nuff of the day?
Sure. Well, I don't feel like I should go first, but...
Oh, well, should we set the standard? Or you want to go first?
No, you set the standard because I think it's going to be pretty much in agreement for some of it anyway.
We were very confused yesterday what happened with Alberson. They were chasing on pretty hilly day and they took that sprint preem, or did they even take it? They got third, I think. Today they started riding. All of a sudden when the crosswind happened, where were they all? Back with Scott. They must have the headphones on. Alberson misses the whole front. There, get my Nuff move of the day.
The best thing is Scud went up to them and said, "Are you a bit tired from yesterday?"
Well, I've been driving the guest car here with some VIPs and stuff around, and I didn't actually see all of the race because we were in the car and we're driving, but I was sitting in the car and I heard the people from the Alpherson car say, "Oh, they're going to be in trouble." We're like, all 7 are in the back group. And I was like, that's a rough day. Like, you don't want to have all 7 ever in the back group. And I actually remember it was a stage at Wollonga, I think it was Wollonga anyway, about 7 or 8 years ago. There's something similar happened. It was a bit of a split. And the Italian teams, they all missed it. And I remember sitting there watching the director say, "You're all riding home." So I'm surprised we didn't pass them on the way home, actually, because that's what happened 10 years ago. Like, if you missed it, on your bike.
I love that. I love that's what Down Under used to be. I also heard a story about that years ago where they were way at the back and, Zabel and all those guys had to ride home. We're not going to see that anymore, are we?
No, I don't think you are. Like, you would not. Like, even when we first come to Down Under 15 years ago or more, we used to ride to the start, you'd ride home. It was a bit of a training race. Now, this is a World Tour event. There's big points on the line. There's big responsibility for the riders. So you might be angry. You might be a little bit pissed that they missed the move, but you're not going to jeopardise tomorrow's race for the points, for the new relegation system. It's just not worth it.
I'm going to go with one. I heard a story about a guy who thought he was going to do the cool thing at the cafe and carry 4 coffees back to the table and ended up dropping them all. Mitch, can you fill us in?
Enough. Well, yeah, I was here this morning and there was a lot of people here and I thought, you know what? There's a lot of coffee cups around. I might just help, I might help Pat here and I'll take some cups in. I got the first load in. The next load, look, to my credit, someone did step in front of me.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But I could have saved it if I had some kind of hospitality skill.
So if I've got 2 hotels and restaurants, so what you're saying is you don't want a job.
I do.
So let's hope this goes well.
I desperately want a job. So I smashed the glass in there and ultimately trying to save them time, I made them do way more work in the busiest time. They're like, thanks, buddy. Thanks for the help. What about you, Gossy? You pick up anyone?
I'm just saying that I think the Alphas and stuff like that, that's a bad day in the office. That's a bad day in the office.
I also think Bahrain didn't do a smart thing by riding behind for Bauhaus because Bilbao's going to need their help tomorrow to try and get ahead of Yates, and they basically spent all their pennies to bring a guy back who was debatable to win that sprint. So that's the real one.
Good to see everyone. Everyone got a cold beer or a nice cold drink? I want to introduce you. Tom Southam flew home today, but we've had nice little guests along the way too. These are 2 of my good friends and also guys that I got to race against or with as well. To my right here is Sam Bewley. He is a 35-year-old guy from Rotorua, New Zealand.
What an intro. 35-year-old guy.
What do I refer to you as?
Sam.
Lives in Girona these days. He was 13 years pro, 9 Grand Tours, went to 2 Olympics, and now is currently a DS with Israel Premier Tech. He's fresh into it. First race, retired last year, and now straight back in the convoy as a DS. Welcome.
And this worked out well doing this show because the big pack-up's going on in the village at the moment, so I got to get out of that.
And if you were here on the first day, Yenzi was here on the first day. We had a chat to him. He's actually a rider of EF, teammate of both Sam and I. Beforehand, he is 34 years old from Bruges, Belgium, in his 14th year as pro. He rode for Cofidis, Orica, Green Edge, where we were all together, Lotto, and he came to EF. He's known as a classic specialist, I think. 6th in Roubaix, 2nd in Gent-Wevelgem. Yenzi, welcome.
Thanks for the intro, and happy to be here.
Well, we don't have the DS here to do the little briefing, but we've got another DS.
It's good to have a bit more practice, actually, because I was sort of winging it a little bit this week. First time doing a DS, but today was a hard stage. So I said to the guys exactly that. I said, guys, look, we've had a bit of bad luck the last couple of days. Our leader, Corbin Strong, crashed out. He was looking good for a top 5 on GC, and we really believed that he was going to be able to do that. So I said, guys, we're going to take this race on like we have all week. We're going to race like we want to show ourselves like we have been. And we had Sebastian Berwick, who was 17th on GC going into this stage, but only 4 seconds off the top 10. So we put our guys behind Seb, and we also gave Corbin the chance to have a crack at the stage win. So we said to them, all in for Seb, all in for Corbin, stay out of trouble, save energy as much as you can, which is always pretty hard on a stage like today. But the guys did well, so less of a debrief and more less of a briefing and more of a debrief there, I suppose.
Good, no, good start. I think everyone's waiting for the more important part, the pub review. Today's pub review. I had a few too many beers last night. I wasn't actually looking forward to doing the pub review today, but I pushed on, got there and did it. I went just down the road here to the Arab Steel on Hutt Street. Really good pub. The last one to close it out. Cooper's Score, mid-range. They had 4 of the 8 beers. They had the Pale, the XPA, the Mild, and the Session. I was pretty impressed. The Race Vision, upon request, they put it on, but even better, upon second request, they turned the volume up. So I think they went up a point. They had Butchers there. Salt and Vinegar Chips. Smith's, the only pub that's had it this week. I'm happy about that. And there was a local legend there, a classic local legend. Let's talk about the race. I'll quickly wrap up what happened today. Stage 5, the final stage, only to Mount Lofty, 112k. Hard start up to the top of Mount Lofty, and then 3 laps around, finishing up Mount Lofty. They more or less did 5 ascents of the Lofty climb. 2,000 metres of climbing. There was 2 sprints, 2 mountain comms. After a pretty crazy start, which would have been like hell for riders like myself. Lots of attacking. A group of 4 went off the front with Michael Matthews just before the sprint, where he took that. And Matthews, therefore, pretty much wrapped up the sprint classification with that sprint. Finally, after 27k in, a 13-mean break went away, with the closest on GC being Chris Hamilton at 5:30. EF started to chase. And the first lap up Lofty, the break at actually only 30 seconds. So like a really, really tough race today. At this point, there was actually a group out the back, which I wasn't surprised about. And AG2R started to ride a little bit. Michael Hepburn up front from Jayco. He took the second intermediate. Pretty good ride by Heppy today, I thought. With 28k to go, the break was caught as Ineos took up the front with the solid tempo. The second last time up Lofty. He was really non-stopping all day. Yenzi, you can probably vouch for this. And it proved to be a really hard attacking circuit, didn't it?
I watched the race again when we got back to the hotel, and it's strange. Like, it didn't look that hard on television, but it was on the whole day. And you could actually see by how small the group was in the end. And everybody looked pretty. I felt the legs, definitely. It was a solid day.
Well, with 15k to go, Quintanillo from Quickstep, he just went away solo. Makes things look easy, that guy. And 10k to go, he was brought back in, and that's when Durbo went on the front. I was surprised to see him there still. Amazing ride. With 7k to go, Yatesy launched his final attack with 2k to go, and only O'Connor and Vine could go with him. Yates tried to ride them pretty much out of the wheel. Then he attacked again, still no success. Jay Vine hit out, and then Yatesy was able to come back around him to take the stage victory. So a really great finish to the race, I thought. The stage results, like with Yatesy, Vine, O'Connor, there was a small gap back to the rest. And Jai Hindley was back there at 6th. You had Bilbao, he was back there at 7th. He lost about 6 seconds, but it looks like the podium is going to be, as we saw the days before, Jay Vine, Yatesy, Bilbao. That was great. Well, how was your day, boys?
Well, I thought that an interesting situation when you said that it was a good ride by Michael Hepburn. It was a good ride by Michael Hepburn, but I thought there was a really bad situation for Jayco. When I was sitting in the car, and I could be wrong, it was a situation with a breakaway like that. It was a really, really good situation for UAE, because if that breakaway went away and won the stage, the best guy at 5 minutes, like you say, unlikely they're going to win the stage by 5 minutes. Takes all the time bonuses out of the race at the stage finish. But Jayco, to win the tour with Yatesy, they needed to get the time bonus and a gap on Jay Vine. So when he was in the breakaway, I thought, this is not a good situation for Jayco. If they want to win the tour, they need to bring the breakaway back first. If they want to win the stage, they also need to bring the breakaway back. But as it turned out, other teams rode before Jayco, and Yatesy won the stage. So maybe I was wrong, but I think in that situation, I thought, this is a great situation for UAE and a bad situation for Jayco.
I didn't think of it like that. That's a really good point, and it makes a lot of sense. Why do you think they would have sent Heppy out there? I mean, he wasn't just slipping into that break.
No, it was a hard.
He was actually.
Yeah, he slipped pretty, isn't he, Heppy?
Not really slip, but like everybody was a little bit on the limit, and it was on that little kicker after Uredla. 3 guys went, 5 guys went, 4 guys went, and he was like one of the last ones to go. He didn't really slip in, but the road was blocked, and that was it. The break was gone. Yeah, he did do the move to be in there, but yeah, he had to be there, otherwise they didn't have anybody.
Yenzi, run us through your day. Actually, what it was like in the bunch, as the riders. How'd your day paying out?
It's pretty much like what you said. It was full gas from the start. We knew that first climb was going to be hard. You could feel it already in the neutral. I think there were 2 or 3 crashes before kilometer 0. So
was nervous.
Yeah, it was great. I've been nervous the whole week, but especially today and the corkscrew stage was already nervous in the neutral. And then it was just full gas the whole day. Our goal in the team was to keep the mountains jersey. Mikel Honoré was in the lead, and we actually only had to look out for guys who were close in the mountains points. And luckily for us, that break that went, there was nobody in there close. And then in the end, our goal was to get a good result with Sean Quinn. He got stuck behind that crash in the last 2 kilometers. But yeah, the day was just full gas the whole day.
Let's go to ride of the day. Yenzi, you want to kick it off?
Yep. I think mine's a pretty obvious one. Yatesy. If you see how he attacked that last 1.5K, he looked really strong. He looked really good. But then to finish it off as well, he knew that he had to keep on the pressure. But also to have that stage victory in your mind, like pretty smart the way he did it and pretty strong. I think, it's an obvious one.
What about you, Bules? Who's your ride of the day?
My ride of the day is actually a little bit, you could call it biased because it's one of my one of my riders, and somebody that no one would have taken any notice of today, but it's Taj Jones. He's an Australian guy from up the sunny coast, a bit of a surfer dude, great dude, absolute legend. He had a really, really big crash yesterday, came down. I was surprised he actually finished yesterday's stage, and he's heading back to Europe in a few days' time after get our 11th race with the team, and today's his last day with his family. They're all here, mum, dad, girlfriend, sisters, and he was dropped on the first climb, which didn't surprise me at all after the big crash he had yesterday. And he never got back to the bunch, didn't see the bunch again. So he was dropped after 5 or 6 kilometres today, and he carried on riding. And then at a certain point, what happens in bike races, if you're so far behind the bunch that you're not going to make the time cut, the commissaires stop you and they take your numbers off your back. So you're DNF, essentially. So they did that with 20 kilometres to go, and he thought, you know what, I've come here, my family's here, I'm not going to see them anymore. I'm injured, I know that, but I want to finish this race. And although he got DNF on the sheet, he finished the race. He rode out there by himself all the way to the finish line. So my ride of the day is Taj Jones.
Nice. I was thinking about Roubaix, and I know you can't do it in every race, but especially Roubaix, I think they should get rid of the time limit on that, because you don't want to be out there forever anyway. So you're going as hard as you can. Especially that race, you want to just finish, and they cut you out of the results. But there's a lot of guys out of time that just still ride to the end. My ride of the day was Brian Cockard. I think that his ride after yesterday, he's moved into top 10 now in GC. I didn't expect that. Didn't know he could climb so well. Were you surprised at that, Ian?
Yeah. And actually what I was most surprised about yesterday, this was only his first World Tour win. So 49 wins and not one World Tour. So pretty impressive. But we all know he's good. Like, especially those finishes like yesterday. I would have said that today was also a little bit too hard for him, but to see him up there till so close to the finish was, pretty impressive.
Nuff move of the day. What happened out there? Who was silly? Do you want me to? I'll go first this time. Mine was the group out the back. This goes back to the communique. So there's a group out the back, UCI rule 2, blah, 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 0.8, whatever. Failure to respect the instructions of the commissaire, and the riders all got 500 Swiss franc fine. And I looked into it a bit deeper, doing a bit of research. Apparently they jumped into the team car, did a lap, then jumped out of the team car. And
the van. There was a van.
Yeah.
There was so many of them. It was a van.
Oh, it was a van, yeah.
They didn't all fit in the car.
Cheeky.
Couple on the roof racks, a few in the back seat.
So they get my nuff today. How about you, Bules?
My nuff was actually a sports director, because to be honest, I didn't see. I think I saw a bike rider once today, and it was when they were getting dropped. We were so far behind, we couldn't see anything from the bunch. We had a debrief with the riders before, and I just said, guys, I basically just make shit up. I don't know where you are on the course. I don't know how far in front you are. I can't see anything. So my nuff of the day was Jussi Vaikkonen, who's a ex-professional rider. Mitch and I and Kooks raced a lot of years with him. He's the sports director of Fronte de Jure. I came around the right-hand corner onto Mount Lofty on the last lap, 3 kilometres to go, and I saw a guy from Fronte de Jure with his bike on his shoulder running up the hill. And I thought, Froome's in our team now, but it's not Froome, like he did in Mont Ventoux that year. He's running up the hill with his bike on his shoulder. What the hell is going on here? 300 metres up the road is his team car. So his team car's been told, Fronte de Jure, you have a puncher. They've driven straight past him. And then they've realised, oh shit, he's behind us. So they've pulled over and stopped because he can't go backwards. So he's had to put his bike on his shoulder and run up the hill. So Jussi Vaikkonen, director of Fronte de Jure, is nuff tick of the day for me. Or nuff, sorry.
Yeah, I spoke briefly about them already. The nuffs who crashed in the neutral zone today. Like, we all knew it was going to be nervous, but like some guys, they were jumping curves and like trying everything just to be in the front at kilometer 0. And then things like this just happened. So I think there were 2 or 3 guys that came down. It was their own fault. You could see it. So they were my nuffs of the day.
Any names? Let's just throw someone on the bus. Yeah, just pick 2 guys you don't like.
Definitely a Trek guy in there. Probably some Israel guys.
Yeah, for sure. Bloody Israel. Not even World Tour.
Yelling in the radio. Guys, get to the front.
Exactly, causing stress.
Well, there we have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed coming with me over to Tour Down Under and experiencing the race from the perspective of those guys and from my eye too. I hope you enjoyed the pub reviews. That's the best way to watch a race, down at the pub, drinking a cold beer. So it was really fun finding different pubs over there in Adelaide. If you haven't been to Tour Down Under before, I strongly urge you to get across there one year. It is such a good vibe in Adelaide for the whole week. I was mainly down at the Rapha pop-up all week. It was awesome over there. I had a great time recording those episodes with pretty much my old mates. A big thanks has got to go out to Will Jones, who's piecing these episodes together at the moment. I'm giving him so much audio that he's got to try and fit together for you guys to make a nice story. Meg behind the scenes, who's really helping me out getting these episodes up as well. Our proud partner Rapha, great to have them on board for Talking Luft this year too. And of course, you guys for listening. Next week, we're back with a Life of the Peloton episode, and I have got a really special episode for you. If you heard him last year, Andre Lagersh, the cardiologist, it was a fantastic episode, finding out what is going on with our hearts. He is the cardiologist that used to test me before I went across and raced every year for the UCI testing. And I asked the question to him last year, what's going to happen 12 months on? Well, I've been back in the lab, and I've done some testing, and I'm going to bring you that episode next week. Guys, until then, thanks for listening, and it's great to be back up and rolling. The music in this episode was composed by Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.